What I want to do today is really get down to the nitty and gritty from putting a report back onto a drawing process. Everybody sees it conceptually, everybody accepts it out of the box, but I'm really going to get down to the nuts and bolts as far as configuring it exactly to your liking. And we're going to deal a lot with table styles, which now, everybody has a whole lot of experience with in base AutoCAD, and set files, which are part of AutoCAD Electrical reports. I'm just in a simple project. I named it reports _01. I've got a bunch of schematic drawings in here with wire numbers and PLC cards and I've got panel layouts, just a typical smaller project, as you can see. And I'm in a blank drawing right now. And I'm going to go to the Reports tab up top and go to the Schematic Report icon. We have a report icon on the schematic panel, and we have a report icon on the panel because they do separate them. Now, if I go to the schematic, and in each one of these examples I'm going to do, you have all the same power behind every single report that you run. You can save them to a file. You can place them back onto a drawing. You can create your own tables when you place them onto a drawing. You can create your own set files when you do place, or for either or, save them to a file or put them on a drawing when you have different formats for the same report. So it's not like I'm going to run a report for every single category here. I'm going to pick out a couple, but everything I do is good for every report that you run. So as an example, if I take a PLC address and descriptions, small project, so I'll leave it on all installations and all locations. I'll do all my drawings that are part of this. And here is a wire, or here is a PLC IO report. And as you can see, I've got a tag name, I've got a wire number, I've got an address, a terminal. I'm using description A, B, and C. I even have a location code out here. And everybody likes to format their reports differently. This is one of them. In my humble opinion, one of the best features of the software itself. And if I pick this change report format, which I'm going to get into further here in a few minutes, as some of you might know already, others might not if you've never run a whole lot of reports. For each report, I can pick and choose that I want the fields that I can report on. And in this case, these are the fields that I'm reporting on. I can move these up or down to change the order if I wanted to. I could add one of these other fields that are available. So I'm just going to pick cancel here. I'm going to leave the defaults as is. And for any report that you run, you can save it to a file. And this is pretty straightforward. If I want to take any report and save it to an Excel spreadsheet or an ASCII text file, an Access database, even an XML format, you can take any report that you run and save it into one of these popular formats. I point it to the folder where I want it to go. And in this case, I'm going to put it, let's say, in here. You can run this would be your own custom PostScript utility that you could also incorporate into it. I close it out. And then if I go to Windows Explorer, as you can see, it just created this Excel spreadsheet. It's the same report that I just ran. So that's pretty straightforward as far as the functionality, as far as the process of taking a report and saving it to any one of those popular file formats, if you will. Now the challenge is always, okay, I want to take a report and I want to put it onto a drawing, but I want to dictate, in that report, because when you place a report on a drawing, it ultimately becomes a table as far as AutoCAD is concerned. So now I got to think about a table format. I got to think about the text size that's going to go inside of it when I do insert it. So I'm going to pick OK to the same exact report. And I'm going to say put on drawing. And here's a list of the table styles that are available out of the box. And this list comes into play not just for running a report, but these tables, there's also a table for cross-referencing and terminals. You can insert a table to represent your terminal strip. A lot of people use that when they need to show the wiring information that's part of the terminals, what gets wired on the left side or the right side of a terminal. This is the same list each time you pick it, whether I pick it from reports, whether I pick it from inserting a terminal strip, or even in the formats. If I cancel here, I don't know if anybody's ever used a table on a cross-reference format. We have a table format. It's big in the IEC world, but a lot of people actually like using it in North America as well. This list is the same list as when I run a report. So let me go back to reports. I'll do the same one. And the confusing part is, if I say put on drawing, you notice that it's defaulting to this eighth-inch table style. And I'm going to get to breaking up the tables here in just a minute. I'm going to pick OK here. And I'm going to drop my table into the drawing, just dragging and dropping, eyeballing. And I'll pick close here. Like I said, I'm going to get into how we break these tables up here in just a minute. And notice when I look at the table, first of all, if I want to see what the text size is, I can double click on it and see that this is set to 0.1 text. Also, notice the alignments, the text justifications, if you will, inside the cells. This one right here, tag name, is right justified. Could be top right, middle right. Wire number looks like it's middle center, if you will. Then you got middle right, then you got middle left. Well, when you place these down initially, you might not like any of them, as an example. And this is what we're going to show you how to adjust. Now, even before I go and create a new table, I'm going to go back to reports. I'm going to run the same exact one. I'm going to put it onto a drawing. This time it's going to update it because I just inserted it, but just watch what happens when I change to a different table format. Let's say I go to this ACE table 1. I'm going to close this out. And when I do that, it's like, whoa, how much bigger that report just got. Well, the reason why is, look at the text type. It's doubled the size when I look at it from this perspective. The alignments are all the same, as you can see. Now, if I do another one, and I say put on drawing, I'll change it to standard as an example. Look how it's changed again. And this is where it can be confusing. It's like, geez, what table do I use? How do I know what the text size is? I want to know ahead of time. I want my alignments to show up correctly. I could even run this. I've created one here. I've created one already called PLCIO. And we can also, well, I'll do that in the next example. You notice this table. I've got some fill color on my heading there. And if I take a look at this text height, whoop, you can see that it's 1/8 inch, which is my preferred method. So what determines these text heights? What determines these alignments? Well, it's a combination of both. Now, to create your own tables, instead of modifying an existing one in your drawing, you can modify existing ones in the drawing all day long, but you're still going to have the same issue in the next project, the next drawing. When you go to insert one, it's going to have all the default table settings from when you start a new drawing. So there is a file. I'm just going to go to my standard AutoCAD open command. And it's located by default in this folder when you install the software. It goes to users, the name of your computer, app data, roaming, Autodesk, AutoCAD Electrical, whatever version you're using, the R24 version, whatever your last update was, English, and then it's under the support folder. And there's a regular DWG file in there. I'm just going to open it up. This particular drawing works with the invisible block to make AutoCAD Electrical friendly. I don't know if anybody's ever ran into a situation where you say you open up a regular AutoCAD drawing, you go to try to execute an AutoCAD Electrical command, you get an alert saying it has to insert this invisible block. You say, okay, and you move along. Well, part of that, somehow in the code, they have this table style.dwg to work in conjunction with it. So this is where you would create and store all of your tables. So as an example, I'm going to go to the Home tab. And on my annotation panel here, I'm going to go to Manage Table Styles. And if you've never used a table inside of regular AutoCAD, it has some similar features to, a dimension style, a text style. You could have several of them in the drawing, create new ones, modify existing ones. And if I take a look at, let's say, the first table where I inserted the PLCIO report, and I'm just going to pick modify max. I'm not going to actually modify, but this is what goes into the table appearance when you insert a report back onto a drawing. And you've got data, header, and title. We mostly concentrate on data and header. So for the data cells down here, you set it up for You know, do you want a fill color? Remember, I included a fill color in the one that I showed you, the PLCIO one. Now look at the alignment. Set to top center. Make a mental note of that. Format, you know, you can format different cells as far as the text or the type of data that goes inside of there. It has similar features to an Excel spreadsheet, if you think about this. And then if I go to the text tab up here, you can dictate what text style you want to use inside of your table. You can create your own text style inside of AutoCAD Electrical, just like you can with AutoCAD. Now here's where the text height is dictated. And the first one that I inserted was set for 0.1 as far as the text height is concerned. You can even change the color. You can change the angle. Borders. You know, I've seen some where they put double lines in certain cases for the borders. So you dictate each category. Like I said, mostly we deal with data and header. So the one that I created, and to create a new one, essentially you would pick one. And I'm going to do this in a minute with a different report. But if I want to create a new one, I pick new. It takes a copy of the one that I had highlighted. Then you would go in and modify it. So if I look at this one that I created real quick here, and I go to the header category, note that's why I have the fill color. It's set to yellow. Now look at this text alignment. It was different on the other one. It was top right. I have mine set to middle center. And then the text is still 0.125, text style, all that good stuff. So I'm just going to hit cancel here. I haven't changed anything, but these are the different table styles that I have to choose from when I go to insert the table. Notice I have a panel one. This one I created with a little bit bigger text size, because if I do insert, let's say, a bill of material onto a panel drawing, I might want it a little bit bigger. So these are all the different table styles right now that are saved in this table style drawing. So when I go back to the insertion of the table itself, let me just delete it. I could update it, but I'll just start from scratch. And I'm going to run the same report. And when I put it onto a drawing, I'm going to choose the PLCIO table that I created. Remember, think alignment here. It's the alignment on my PLCIO was middle center. On the ACE inch, it was top right. So I'm going to pick PLCIO table, select OK, and again, drop it into my drawing. And I'll close it out. And this is when when I first started using the software, this was driving me crazy. I'm like, geez, I just made the text alignment middle center. Why is this one still set the top right, as I can see up here? This one is set to top right. Why are those still there? Because I made them middle center in my table style. This used to drive me crazy until I finally figured it out. The reason is, and I'll delete this again, and I'll run the same one. is you actually, the alignment is controlled by the report, change report format. So as soon as you go into the report generator, I'd go down here, change report format. And typically this is where I just usually add fields, subtract fields, move them up and down to get it the way that I want. So on top of that, here is where you actually determine what those alignments are. So now for the tag name, that's why it came in as top right, not middle center like I had in my table style. So your table style essentially controls everything except your alignment. So now if I change this from here, I'll call this one middle center. Wire numbers set to top center. The address, if I take a look at this, I'm going to make that one middle center. Terminal number. Again, I like to center these up. And maybe I'll leave the descriptions as left justified. Instead of top, I'm just picking middle. And I'll be really crazy here and make the last one right justified. You can even see it in a preview, which I didn't pay attention to for a long time. But I'll say put on drawing now. I'm going to go back and choose my PLCIO table style that I created with the background fill and the text size that I want. Whoop. And now I'll drop it in. So now look at all the alignments. Now they reflect what I want to see. And that's can be confusing when you first start out, especially if you do know something about tables inside of AutoCAD. Usually that dictates everything. In electrical, you have to do the alignment separately. And the nice part is it will let you change every single column that you have in here. Now, the second order of business here is once you get the format down, you can save the setup, meaning I'm going to run it again. And when I go to change report format, and you might run the same report with different formats. Could be customer driven, could be something internal. Meaning maybe one time I run this report and, I don't need a location code on the report. I could easily do one of these and remove it. If I did want to show it, I pick it under available fields and I add it. And remember, I just changed all these alignments. So what I want to do here is say, okay, save as. And I can save this as a set file. So I'm going to browse. I'm going to browse to the folder of where I have this. Project, if you will. And I'll just leave it on PLC. Let's say I call it PLC_1. And I'll pick OK. And the way that the format works is whatever the last format you used in the report generator dialog box becomes the default. So let's say I'm running the same report again. and I go to change report format. And this time I take out the location code and I'll add the sheet number. This could be in just a different format internally, or maybe it's customer driven. So let's say I put this onto a drawing, save it to a file, do what I got to do with it. Now, when I go back to that same report, notice it's defaulting to, in this case, the sheet number. No location code in here. So if I wanted to go back to the other format, I could go change report format, take the sheet number out, add the location, play with the alignments if it is going to be different when I place it onto a drawing. So you'd have to constantly go back to change report format when you do have a couple of different formats for the same report. So the whole idea is to save your formats to those set files. Whoop, sorry about that. Didn't turn my email off. So now I'm going to go back and run the same report, except this time I'm going to pick format. I'll browse to where I've saved it. Select it. And then as soon as I run the report, I don't have to go to the change report format at all, because now I'm back to location. So once you get your reports down, even with the alignments that you want to use when you do actually insert it into a drawing, save those as set files. That's one of the reasons why we have set files in the first place. So you don't have to constantly, and sometimes you might not even remember what you had in the report that you want. Save those set files, especially when you intend to place it onto a drawing, to make sure your text alignment or justifications is the proper one that you want to use. So now notice how this report ran off the drawing. And this is the case where we want to break it up. I want to break this up into 2 sections with X amount of rows per section. And this does take a little bit of trial and error on your part, when you're first starting out, especially until you get your number of sections, let's say, that you can fit inside the title block compared to the rows. And the rows are going to be tied to a text height, right? So this time when I run this report, run the same report, and I'm going to say put on drawing. I'm going to choose my PLCIO table style, which has the 1/8 inch text height that I want to use. And except this time, for the number of rows, I'm going to say 60 right here. And as soon as I type in 60 and hit enter, notice that it frees up the other portion of the dialog box in the bottom right corner here. Now I can say, give me 2 sections per drawing, and I'm going to set the X distance, the distance apart between the 2 sections, to 0.5. And this can be the real trial and error part, is your Y distance. So as an example, I'm going to, let's say, take a shot and say 18. Now when I pick OK, I can even predetermine where it's going to go to. So let's say X dimension 0.5, Y dimension, I'll say 22. So instead of dragging and dropping it in, I'm going to place it automatically. So now if you look at it, it's like, okay, I got it, it's pretty close there. And this is where your trial and error comes into play until you nail it down. Once you nail it down, like a lot of other stuff with regular AutoCAD, you're going to have it for life. So I'm going to go right back to put on drawing, and I'm going to tweak this a little bit. Let's say I want this to be 17.5 on the Y distance. Now it looks good. Close it out. I got two sections. They're nicely aligned together per drawing. That's what I can comfortably fit. And remember, your text size, take that into consideration. It's going to determine how many rows you can fit inside of your workable area, if you will, inside your title block. And once the text height and the row height are determined, then you can see how many rows you can fit. So that does take a little bit of trial and error. There's no doubt about it. But once again, once you nail it down, when I go back to the reports here, notice it defaults to all those same dimensions. And one tidbit that's on my wish list is I wish I could save these settings. Unfortunately, I can't. So I kind of do it a little bit the old-fashioned way. Do a screen capture of this, throw it in a Word document that, that's part of my standards, and identify it with, for this particular table, the PLCIO table, here's the setup we want to use when we go to insert them back into the drawing. You want to make an electronic copy of it once you get it nailed down. And half the time, you might not even have to change it because it's always going to be the same. Probably more than that. Now, what happens, I'm going to create another one. Let me open up this next drawing here. This time I'm going to run a report that has to be broken up into two sections, but it's also going to have to create some drawings for me. And before we go there, I'm going to create actually a new table. So I'm going to start with going back to my standard AutoCAD open command. I'm going to open up that table style drawing once again, which has all my table styles stored. I'm going to go to the Home tab, and then I'm going to go to my annotation pull down and pick the Manage Table Styles. And I'll start with this PLCIO one because I know it's 1/8" text. That's my Hagerman company standard. So I'm going to pick New right here. And I'll call this, let's say I'm going to call this From To, because I'm going to run a wire from to report. And I'm going to pick Continue. And once again, now when I see alignment and table style, I can completely blow that off because it doesn't actually count. So now for all the data cells, I'm going to change, or I'm just going to verify that I'm using 1/8" text right here. I want to make sure I'm using 1/8" text. And then just to change this up, let's say I go to the header and I'm going to make the fill color, let's say cyan. Just to change it up a little bit. Text size, still going to be 0.125. Again, anything you want to change here. Changing up the borders, adding a double line as far as the text is concerned. I could have, maybe I want a different text style for my header than I do for the rest of the data ones. You could have one, a text style that's maybe, has a different font that's bold. Change any of that stuff, the height, style, even the color. So I changed my fill color. Alignment I don't care about once again. So now I'm going to pick OK. So now I have a new table right here. I'll pick OK here. Or close it out, I should say, just to verify that it is still there. You can see that it's not only there, but right now it's the active one in this drawing. That doesn't matter. So now I'm going to close that table style drawing down. And now I'm going to go back to reports. And I'm going to pick from to, just because I know it's a big report. So this has to, I got to break it up into multiple sections and then multiple drawings. So I'm going to run the wire from to for the entire project. Once again, I'll do all the drawings. I'll do all my location codes, just like when you run a normal report, and you can obviously pick and choose on those locations as well. And here's a complete point-to-point wire report for the entire project. Now the first tidbit I'm going to change here, I'm going to go to change report format. This I created for a customer that wanted to include cable information in their normal wire report. Let's say I get rid of those. And I pick OK. Now if I go back to change report format, once again, I would concentrate on my alignment, knowing I'm going to insert this back into a drawing. So I'm going to say, once again, for the wire number column, I'll choose middle left. For the location, 1, I like middle left, not top left. I'll just leave that just to save some time. Left justified, left justified. And then just to be crazy, I'll make the last one right justified. You can, like I said, you can even see it in the preview. So now I want to put this onto a drawing. And the first thing I want to do is choose the table style that I want to use. Here's the one that I just created. I'm going to have it automatically place the table into the drawing. So I'm going to go 0.5 my X dimension, 22 on my Y. So as you can see, there's 361 rows here. Well, based off of the text height in my table, I take that into consideration. And like I said, the first time you do this for any given table, you're guessing. I'm going to guess that I can fit 60 rows in here. And I want 2 sections once again. My Y distance, I'll make 0.5. And actually, see if I got a little bit more space, if I can add that in between there. And then the Y distance, I'll just take a guess and say 19 for now, or I'll go back to my 18. And I'm going to pick OK. Now, 2 things are going on here. One, as you can see, I'm a little bit off on my Y distance. I also have more space where I can spread this out, so I don't have to have it so close up. That X distance doesn't have to be 0.5. Then you get the dialog box, because I only said 2 sections. Might be able to fit a third in here. Probably could, but doesn't matter. Right now, I said 2 sections, 60 rows per. I've run out of space in this drawing. What do I want to do next? I could ignore this and put a third section in. I could pick new drawing. If I had drawings already created from the project, I could select one of those or just randomly pick any drawing. First thing I'm going to do is hit cancel here. I'm going to say put on drawing again. And I'm going to bump the X distance up, let's say to 2. And I'm going to make the Y distance 19. Got to make sure, sometimes this is a little bit funky where it might switch it to a different default to a different table style. And once again, it's not quite there. So I'll hit cancel, change report format, or I'm sorry, put on drawing. Let's make this 20. And this is what I meant by, until you get this nailed down, it can be some trial and error. And notice I'm going in the wrong direction right now. So I'll change this to like 17. Now it's a little bit better. Let me do one more. Move along. I'll say 17.5. Close enough. Well, looks like it's same as it was on the other one. And that's because I had the same text height as well. So now I'm at this dilemma. What do I do here? Well, I'm going to say, I had 360, I think, rows, right? And or 330, I forget what it was, maybe 330 in the report. And I'm putting 60 down per section. So let's start a new drawing. So it's going to default to the next one. That's why this is defaulting to reports-15 because 14's already been created. You do want to make sure you choose your proper template that has your title block built into it when it does create a new drawing. Oh, this is template I want to use is in my Hagerman template folder. So I'll pick OK here. Creates the new drawing, uses all those same dimensions. Now I got to create another new one. Here's another issue that you can run into, which I'll get to in just a minute here. Let me create another new one. It's going to default to that last template, default to the next drawing. And then it's got to do one more, I believe. So now I have drawings 14, and then I just added these 3 other ones to the project. Like I said, I probably could have fit in this particular table style. I probably could have fit 3 rows per drawing. That way it would have, created less drawings. Because the last one, it's only got a few of them on there, as you can see. Now, this is the other thing I used to run into. One time I'd insert a report onto one drawing, it might come out one color. Another time it might come out a different color. Drive me nuts. This is simple AutoCAD stuff. Put your AutoCAD cap on for a minute. It automatically places this on this miscellaneous layer. So whatever the color that you have property-wise set up for the miscellaneous layer. And remember, I created this drawing with a template. So if I were to continue to use the miscellaneous layer for my reports, then I would open up the template and change this permanently. And I'm just going to change this to straight up black or white. You can also create a new layer. Maybe you want to reserve that miscellaneous layer. Create a new layer, the regular AutoCAD way, called reports. We can create our own layers all day long inside the software. And then after you insert it, just move it to a different layer. But that's another thing that you can run into. You insert a report one time, it's like it comes out one color. It's because somebody has changed that miscellaneous layer on different drawings. Don't know why you would do that, but my personal preference, my recommendation, create a new layer in your layer property manager called reports. Set it up with any color you want and always put your reports on the reports layer. So, this is what I really wanted to accomplish here, getting back to reports in general. I don't care if you want to run a schematic report. I don't care if you run a panel report. If you do place them onto a drawing, I'm going to hit cancel here originally, but if you do place it onto a drawing, make sure you're choosing the proper table, which for the most important part for the table style is the text height, because it determines your row height when you place it onto a drawing, which determines how many sections you can get per drawing. It's so important. You can add background fills like I did. You could add, double the borders, all that other stuff. But you want to make sure that the table is going to come in the way you want. And then also, make sure that you set up the alignments on the table correctly on how you want it to appear when you insert it. And also, as far as the fields to report, if you have multiple, or, if you have one report with multiple formats, make sure you save the set file. The set files save your alignment, but it also saves what you're reporting on in the order that you're reporting it. You should have a separate folder up on a shared network drive that has just set files in it. And give them good names, give them functionality wise, like I did with the from to or the PLC. If it's customer driven, precede it with a customer. And we already talked about saving to a file back in the beginning. That's pretty straightforward. You want to save any report to a file, pick it, and it immediately saves it. All right. How are we doing on questions?
We have a couple. Are you ready?
Yeah, let me expand this out so I can actually see them. Okay. Just the two of them?
Yeah.
Okay. When I do
go
ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You go for it.
I'm just reading this.
Yep.
I do a panel report. I use full include schematic. Yep. Not referenced on panel. Purchase list. Yep. After I run the report and select all the fields that I want included in the report, I save this as a new set file. Okay. Use this report that I've saved. The full include schematic and display and tally purchased. No longer checked. Okay, I think the biggest one you're thinking about. Let me just do it here. So you're going to the purchased format. No problem there. And then here's the purchased format. In the format that it's looking at right now, in my case, is whatever the last fields I'm reporting on in the order. So if I wanted to save this to a set file right now, I could save it, which is what you're doing. So now when I go back to the same report, this is what I think that you're looking at. You want it to default to here. That we're going to have to get back to you on because I don't know. I mean, I just selected it, right? But as soon as I went back to the same report, it always defaults to normal tallied format. I don't know if I can change that. We'll take a note of that and definitely let you know. Because if you're using it all the time, I perfectly understand, why you would want that to default to there.
All right, I took a note.
Okay, cool.
The next one is from Rick, and he wants to know, is there a way to preset the cell height?
Preset the cell height. That would be tied to your table, I believe. So if I go to open, let me open up that table style drawing. I could have looked at it in the recent one, I guess, too. So if I go to modify right here, your text height, your cell height right now is basically based off of the margins down here. That would be your vertical margins. So the margins, if you will, hold on a minute. Give me a second here. I'm trying to access another document. Your margins control the spacing between the border of the cell and the cell content. They apply to all cells. Got a default of 6. So vertical sets the distance between the text or block in the cell in the top and bottom cell borders. So basically, if you, by default, right here in the drawing, if you will, the cell margins vertically on the row height is set to 0.06. If you want that to be bigger, you can change that to anything you want.
Okay, that's actually it for the questions.
Excellent.
And we'll get back to Ron on that specific report.
Yes, that's a great question. I don't think we can change that default, but hey, you never know. All right, Ashley, any final thoughts?
Okay, well, I'll just let everyone know that if you think of questions later, you can simply reply to that confirmation or reminder email you receive from GoToWebinar, and we can get those to Greg or your sales rep to get your questions answered. Once again, a short survey will pop up as we close down. It's just 4 questions. And also a reminder that you will receive an email tomorrow, which will have a link to the recording. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Greg, for the presentation. Have a great day, everybody.
Yep, thanks, everybody.